Well, good day, my friends. Today we are coming to you from Bessemer, Alabama, and this is kind of a special vlog for me. When I was a kid, I loved sports, and my favorite athletes were Ken Griffey Jr., Bo Jackson, and Michael Jordan for the most part, as far as I could remember. And I remember back in 1990, I had to look it up, but I remember back in 1990, 2020 came out and went to Bo's hometown where Bo grew up and kind of talked to him about his life, and I've always remembered that. And they actually, in part of the interview, showed the house and showed kind of the address. So we're gonna go see his childhood home today, and this is actually the park about 3 doors down. So this would have been a park that he played baseball at growing up. Guy who some would call potentially maybe the greatest born athlete ever. Had his career shortened by injuries, but he was a massive hero for not only University of Auburn by becoming the Heisman Trophy winner, but also being drafted and going to the Kansas City Royals, also playing football for the Raiders. And then literally his body, it didn't break down. This guy really would put it through the ringer. And in one game, he actually overran his own leg and it pretty much ruined his football career. We're gonna go see the house now. Daze with Jordan the Lion. It begins right now. Came out here to Bessemer, Alabama because I feel like one of the greatest all-time athletes, maybe all-around athletes, was Bo Jackson. I don't even know if there's anybody that's close. I just had to see this house because when I was a kid, I looked it up. It was 1990. He did an interview for 2020 where he was coming back to this house talking about how poor he grew up, and they actually have named the street after him. But when they do the interview with him, he's kind of like right here. He's just talking about how when he was a kid, he didn't have a father, so he was just a really angry kid and got into a lot of trouble. He used to steal bikes, pick fights, things like that. And then he realized it just wasn't getting him anywhere. And he had a stutter, so people would make fun of him until he beat him up because he was so strong. But it was his school here in town that we're gonna go over to that he was a superstar football player and ended up getting recruited by Auburn and was a superstar for Auburn. So this was his childhood home. I think his mom still might even live there because it looks like this big building is in his name. So back then they were talking about how he made $2 million a year playing baseball, but he would make $4 million a year in endorsements because he was endorsed by Pepsi and AT&T, of course Nike, Bonos. So this is really cool for me. Like I said, this guy was just an amazing athlete. He could really do everything. He was an all-star in baseball and football both. They said he considered football kind of like his part-time job in a way because he was devoted to playing baseball, but he would basically join the football team, join the Raiders 3 days before the season started, and he would still score touchdowns on opening day. So it's crazy. There was a weird story I remember where like the Buccaneers were claiming they were going to sign him or that they already had, and it really upset him, so he vowed to not play for them no matter what, no matter if they drafted him or not. He said he wouldn't play there, but I think he still must have ties to this house because you can see there's right there in the little fountain is a Auburn figure, and then on the stairs those orange things are Auburn. Really cool, man. I mean, this guy, at the time, I remember in that interview, he was saying that he really hated that during his time at Auburn, people kind of would question his heart because they said that they thought he should have played more, and he certain times wouldn't play because he was risking an injury. And later on, he would end up having his career shortened because of an injury, so he probably wasn't wrong, obviously. He was so good that he outran his own body, basically, and it ended his football career.
Bo Jackson has some room. One man to beat, and from behind, Kevin Walker blocking at the line of scrimmage. And Bo is so strong physically. A beautiful job of pulling and blocking. And watch these broken tackles. So his legs and, of course, the blocking itself.
But I had to come out and see his childhood home here. This is just too cool for me. They said even then, when he would finish up his football and baseball, he would always spend about 10 days out here visiting his friends and everything. So really cool to see that the house still exists. Now he's really into archery and everything, but he did end up in the Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame, but not the Baseball Hall of Fame or NFL Hall of Fame, unfortunately. Kind of looks like it's seen better days. I don't know if this is still in operation or not. I mean, the name's fallen off the wall, but then I can see through the glass that there is stuff inside the rooms. So I kind of walked around the school and I see police tape around certain entrances, so I don't know if maybe they used the school this past year and maybe it's done, but the field I actually passed right beside, so we'll go over and check that out, the football field he played on. This is where life really changed for Bo. You know, the neighborhood he grew up in, about 3 miles away, and not a lot of prospects at the time. Like I said, when we were out there, he grew up without a father. He was pretty angry, and he said that while he went to school here, he would have to wear hand-me-downs of his sister's, and he would actually wear his sister's shoes, and someone called him out on it one time and said those are girls' shoes, and he said no, these are my shoes. But he would recover from the stuttering problem while he was here, and also, of course, like I said, change his life by becoming a star athlete out on the football field. So let's check out that field. So as you could probably guess, the football and baseball fields are right beside each other. So here's the baseball fields. And then he got his scholarship by football. And they do actually have him on their scoreboard down there. One thing I always loved about Bo was that he never came off cocky or conceited. When you saw him in interviews, they would tell him how good he was or reference how good he was, some of his accomplishments, and he just thought that was just kind of an average thing, average performance. And for as strong as he was, and people saying he might have been the ultimate specimen of an athlete, he never really worked out. It was until, you know, it's kind of a natural thing that he had. I was hoping maybe we get lucky and the gates would be open, but they're all chained up, unfortunately. This was a big deal. His life changed here because that scholarship meant for him. He said the one thing that he always made a priority in his life was he never wanted his kids to not have money to go on a field trip. He never wanted to have that feeling of struggling the way that his mom did. His mom, he said, was like the strongest woman he ever knew. So it doesn't surprise me that he would take care of her for the rest of his life. There's the football field that he would have gained that scholarship on, which that is really cool. Can you imagine seeing a young Bo Jackson when we would see how good he really became? He became so good that he was the first player to be an all-star in baseball and football both. His first baseball all-star game, he hit a home run his first at bat and was the MVP of the game. So, McAdory High. the baseball team's out there playing, but nobody for football, so let's check out the scoreboard. If you look all the way on the left, that's him. You know, it's crazy, as I came over here to the scoreboard and I'm looking at what they have written down for Bo, it actually says NFL, well, it says 1985 Heisman Trophy winner. Then it also says NFL from 1987 to 1990. So he got injured that year. In that interview, they were talking about how when he played for Auburn, he would be hurt and people thought he should continue to play for key games and he didn't want to risk his career. And it was that same year that they aired that 2020 that he ended up losing his football career. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this. This was kind of the best I could do with, you know, I think his mom still lives there, so I didn't want to be too intrusive any more than I already was. And I mean, he's just such a phenomenal story. I don't think there was anybody at that time that was more sought after for TV shows, for endorsements. Just everybody seemed to love Bo for the time, and I did too. So this was a great day for me to get to see his high school, especially if it ends up getting demolished, because it doesn't look too great. We got to see where he went to school, where he played football, and where he grew up, his childhood home. So pretty good day. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Have a great night from Bessemer, Alabama. Goodbye.